Good morning, everyone. This is Nithin Ramachandra from the NR Media NR Hour Sports Show, back with another episode. Happy Monday. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Now back on a fresh week. We are live on iHeartRadio, Spotify, on all the podcast platforms. And fans, please tune in. You already know about our speaker app on our phone. Please put your questions in, as always, on that app for today's guests. And before we introduce today's guest, I just want to say thank you for all the support over the years for this show and this company. We've been 4 years now running with the show, so really thank you for all the fan support and everything. But today's guest, we have Augie Hoffmann. He's a former NFL offensive guard. He played with the Saints for a little bit. Now he's doing great things off the field, being a coach. He coached with Rutgers Scarlet Knights before. Now he's back with St. Joe's as a head coach for a second stint, which we'll get to, and we'll get to his journey, how he got into football, coaching, playing, and now helping these young athletes get to where they want to be. So, our team finally made this happen. And Hoggy, thank you for joining the show. It's truly an honor. And like I said, fans, please tune in, get your questions ready for him. We'll answer your questions also. But thank you for joining the show. Welcome to the family, and Happy New Year to you and your family. And how are you doing today?
Good, man. Happy New Year to you, bro. I really appreciate you bringing me in. I know we've been trying to get this on the calendar for quite a while, but I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to be speaking to you this morning.
Yeah, so before we get to your career, let's start off. How special does it feel for you to be back to St. Joe's, where you won two championships as a head coach in the first stint, and now you're officially back? And what's that been like for you the last couple of weeks for you, just to get settled in and back where you started, pretty much?
Sure. It was a kind of a lengthy process. We had the interview process and going through that, which took a couple weeks, and it's actually a humbling experience being back. This is kind of where my whole football journey started, as a player, and then having an opportunity to come back and coach the last time, and now being back again. It's really humbling. I'm so thankful that I get the opportunity to do it. And there's some familiar faces around, and there's some new faces. That's what makes everything go. But really excited to be back.
Yeah, tell our fans about the process, because I know they were interested in other coaches. But at the end of the day, they liked you, and they know, obviously know about your history there. So how long did you get nervous at one point with the other coaches involved, or were you always confident to get the
No, listen, I think I'm a confident person by nature. I felt that I was the best candidate for the job. But listen, there's a lot of great candidates. And what I felt may not have been what the committees felt. Fortunately for me, they felt the same way. But listen, I had friends on the that were going up for the job. I had guys that I've competed against in the past that were up for the job, and you know, it, this is a premier job in the country. So uh, why wouldn't there be great competition? Why wouldn't the administration say we have to make sure that we're finding the best guy for the job?
Mhm.
And so it was a listen. Truth be told, do I wish it was happened sooner? Yeah, of course. I mean, there was some nerves about it, but never did I feel like I wasn't the right guy for the job.
Yeah, so we are live with Augie Hoffmann, back with St. Joe's as a head coach. He was a player in the NFL and coached at Rutgers. And fans, put your questions in. We'll answer your questions also. And what does it mean for you what does being a part of St. Joe's mean to you?
Yeah, listen, I mean, this is, like I said to you earlier, this is where my football journey started. So having the opportunity to come back and coach these kids and be a mentor to these young men, that is really one of the most important things to me. So, having the opportunity to coach at the high school level, and then going to college, understanding what the college level is all about. I said this to someone earlier. There's a fit, right? And I feel like I'm most fulfilled doing this work. And like I said, I can't tell you how excited I am to be back.
Yeah, so let's get into your career. How did you get started playing football? And obviously, you were offensive guard, and you don't even look like offensive guard anymore, man. You transferred in.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but how did you get into football? And who would you say that you looked up to? Because Jersey now has a lot of great talent. But who did you look up to while growing up, also?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, I started playing rec football when I was in second grade, I was a big kid growing up. Always had the red tape on my helmet as a youngster. Really, I loved football. It was always important to me. I didn't really realize what it could bring you until probably high school. And really, who did I look up to? Was I looked up to the guys that were here that were older than me. There were so many great players here. People that the Adrian Puzios of the world and Mike Bertolino, Cooper Rigo, Vinny Churchill, who's he's like a brother to me. He's more of a brother than a friend. Um, I always looked up to the guys that I was in the building with.
Mhm.
I never went beyond that. And those were great players. They were great human beings. And I wanted to be like them when my time was come. And then, eventually, like you just keep going and you don't even realize, I can remember my junior year, I was always trying to be one of the guys. I was obviously a starter, but I didn't really see myself as having separated myself. And then all of a sudden, once the scholarships start rolling in, you say, "Oh wow, like maybe it's a little different." You know what I mean? So I was always looking up to the guys that I was with.
Hmm. So we do have a fan question in here. One of our fans wants to know, what would you say some of your best moments was as a player?
Yeah, well, it's funny. There's so many great stories, but yeah, listen, I think my junior year in high school, um, we beating Bergen Catholic in the semifinal game to make it to the state finals and eventually win the state finals was a tremendous memory for me as a college athlete. Going out to Notre Dame in 2002 when they were ranked number 4 in the country and beating them out in South Bend. That sticks out to me as one of the greatest moments of my life. And then really, listen, and then the first time you get a chance to put on an NFL uniform and I was, playing a game, it's, you kind of realize your life's work and sit and say, all right, wow, this is really coming true. Now, listen, I was a practice squad guy for 2 years and then I got stuck on injured reserve my third year. So not the most illustrious career by any means, but it was something that I worked hard for my whole life. And you get a chance to be a part of an organization like that at any capacity, it's really an amazing feat, and there's a finite number of those jobs in the world. There's not a lot of livelihoods in the world that you could sit there and say there's X amount of jobs. You know what I mean? So having been a part of that was tremendous.
Yeah, so tell our fans, what was it like being part of the Boston College experience? Because that's a great football program or a great
Mhm.
sports program in general, but especially football. So
Sure.
what do you like about Boston College?
Yeah, it reminded me of home. I went to school with 7 guys from New Jersey in my class, which was huge. That year we were the number 15th ranked recruiting class in the country. We were the highest. I think we were the highest ranked recruiting class that Boston College has ever had.
Wow.
We had guys like William Green, who was the first overall pick, and Sean Ryan was a fifth round pick for the Dallas Cowboys.
Mhm.
Derek Knight. You can go down the list of great players. Tommy Martin, but the Jersey guys were Greg Toll and Frankie Mizzarelli and Frank Wilpert and Tommy Martin and Keith Hemmings, and these were guys that were just like me, um, that picked Boston College because they believed in the coaching staff, uh, they believed in where we were heading, and we committed there off of having gone 4-7 2 years in a row,
Mhm.
and then we went to 13 or 14 straight bowl games. Um, so it was definitely a group that stuck together and wanted to be there, and we had a tremendous experience at BC. Really fun time.
We have another fan question for you. They want to know, what did you learn from Coach Shishiano when you were at Rutgers?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we need 4 days to go over everything that I've learned from him. The one thing the biggest thing is just how important culture is in your program. Culture drives the behavior of your program. So, uh, everything needs to, your culture needs to be so strong and tangible. They need to understand what it is. They need to be able to find what your culture is and live within the parameters of that culture, because, we've tended to, as coaches, discipline the behavioral problems that come on, but really, are they behavioral issues or are they cultural issues? And that's one thing that he did a tremendous job of, and learning from him was outstanding. It was a great experience.
Speaking of Rutgers, they won their first bowl game against Miami at the Pinstripe Bowl in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
And did you
Mhm.
were you there, or did you reach out to them after the win? Or
I wasn't there. I talked to a couple guys after the win, guys that I had coached, and a couple of coaches that are on the staff, just to wish them congratulations. I mean, I can tell you right now, there's not a lot of teams in the country, if any, that work harder than them. So hard-earned win, and they deserved it.
and then talk about tell our fans about being part of that Rutgers tradition, Scarlet Knights, and they have a rich history when it comes to players and coaches,
Sure.
and your situation reminds me of Greg Schiano, where he obviously second sit now with the Rutgers, and um
Mhm.
the first stint he did really good with Rutgers, and I don't know why he should have stayed there the whole time, but when he came back, it feels like Rutgers is back on the map again since he's been back, and just talk about being part of that. And would you say that his coaching career reminds of his to you when it comes to like since?
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you make the parallel. I hope that I will be as successful as him. Um, yeah, I understand the like the likeness, but the one thing that why the kids are so successful is because of how hard they work. I said it to you just now. Um, he makes the team work hard. He makes the coaching staff work hard. The attention to detail that everybody has in that organization is second to none. Um, and you'll see. I mean, the guys that are coming out of RU, they're prepared for the NFL. They are taught football. They understand the game. They understand the sacrifice that need to be made, the time commitment that needs to be made, and that's all because of Coach Shiano. I mean, there's nobody that works harder than him.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was a head coach that left the office at 8 o'clock and the guys were there working. No, no, he was there every single day, every single night. So there was definitely you can take a look at him and say, all right, well, if coach is doing it, I better be doing it.
Yeah, and we have another fan question here. One of our fans wants to know, how do you handle your schedule being a coach, and obviously during game day practices? So they want to know your routine as a coach when it comes to like a big game.
You know what? The one thing, and this is a Tom O'Brien thing, who I played for in college, we never change our preparation just because the game is quote unquote bigger than another. We worked the same way as when we played Temple versus when we played the 2001 Miami team. So your preparation, it can't be you can't be a great team and say, I'm going to work harder this week just because the team is better than. No, that's never going to be that. You'll never be successful. So we are always going to work like it's the most important game of the year every week. And that's down to meeting prep, that's on the field preparation, that's off the field, everything that goes into it stays similar.
Yeah, and at Rutgers, you were the offensive line coach and running backs coach. So what did you learn? What did you how do you go about that when it came to coaching the running backs and offensive line also?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, I was given a couple pieces of advice from guys that I trust, and when I was coaching the running backs, is you can't really treat the running backs like offensive linemen. They're a little bit different, and they take a little bit of getting used to you, and they got to understand where you're coming from, and they're just a different group. So I had to kind of change my coaching style a little bit. Still hard hand, still heavy handed, but in a different way. And then you go back and coach the offensive line, like the way I was coached in high school and the way I was coached in college, and you can be a little bit more in their face a little bit. They understand where you're coming from, and but it was an interesting change coaching the running backs at first.
Hmm.
It was good for my development as a coach.
Yeah, so tell our fans, how tough is it for you to be undrafted? But obviously you got an opportunity with the Saints, a great organization in the NFL. But just talk about how tough is it not getting drafted?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all relative. I knew very well what my chances of getting drafted were. Um, I knew where I fell, and I think if I was going to get drafted, it was going to be late seventh round, but it was most likely going to be a free agent. And the only benefit to really being a free agent is you can kind of pick your situation. So when the draft had ended and I was talking to teams actually during the draft, I actually thought one team was going to draft me. They called me and said, we have one more pick in the seventh round. We're going to take an offensive lineman. And they did take an offensive lineman, but they didn't take me. But I spoke to Coach Hazlitt, and he told me, like, we didn't draft any offensive linemen. We think you got a chance to make the team, or at least make the practice squad. And that meant a lot to me. And it just gives you a different perspective on how to work. You can't be sick, you can't be hurt, because there's a great chance that your stuff won't be there the next day. So what it's done is taught me to overcome adversity and kind of put your head down and just figure out the work, get there and figure it out, deal with the issues later.
Who did they end up drafting that year? The offense in the seventh round.
Carlos Joseph.
Oh,
I won't say which team it was, but Carlos Joseph was the guy that he's a Miami player. That's why I always stuck out in my mind. But yeah, so I remember that vividly.
yeah. So you spent with the Saints 2 years from 04 to 06, and you got to play with great players. You played with Aaron Brooks, the quarterback, and then also Drew Brees in 06. And between that period, you went from Coach Has to Sean Payton. So what was
Yeah.
that like, the experience like, and how much did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, well, it's funny. My first 2 years in New Orleans, we had Jim Haslett, and he was really the driving force for me going to New Orleans. Um, he played with a guy in Buffalo named Fred Smerlis, who's a Boston College grad. So the BC guys kind of have a little bit of a good reputation for being hard workers and tougher Northeast guys. And Jim Haslett brought me in, and I was with him for the first 2 years. And Jack Henry was our O-line coach, and they treated me like everybody else. They traveled me to some away games when I was a practice squad guy, which really doesn't happen. And Jack really prepared me to be a player in the league. And after my second year, the management came to me and said, we need you to go to NFL Europe because you need to learn how to play center and you got to be a different position. So after my second season, I went to Europe, played there for 10 games. I started all 10 at center. And then when I came back, that was the Katrina year after, that was after the Katrina season. So Haslett was gone, everybody was gone, and Coach Payton was there. So really brand new regime. They had a lot of cleaning up to do. And I came back to camp and I got hurt in mini camp. And that was really unfortunate because I felt like I was playing my best football,
Yeah.
having come out of Europe. But 3 ankle surgeries later, being on IR the whole year, that just kind of, listen, that's what the NFL is. You have to be lucky, you got to be really talented, and then you got to stay healthy. And I was, unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that. But like I said, nonetheless, just a tremendous experience. And obviously, Coach Payton went on to be a success. What he did in New Orleans, and so like I said. Is it the career that I had hoped for? No. Is it what I got? Yes, and I'm thankful for every minute of it.
What do you say? Has and Peyton has been a big influence to you. Has been a big influence for you to
Yeah,
be a coach also.
yeah. It was. I got to tell you, the biggest influence to me becoming a coach was Tony Karsich, my head coach in high school. Um, Really had a tremendous impact on me as a young man. My coaching staff at Boston College, Tom O'Brien, Al Golden was my recruiting coach. Billy McGovern, rest in peace, was a tremendous, tremendous mentor to me. These are all people that have helped me along my way, and I love that relationship that I have with them, and I wanted to kind of give that back to the guys that I'd be coaching.
We have another fan question for you. They want to know who was the funniest teammate that you played with.
The funniest teammate that I played with. Oh man. I would say a guy that you've probably never heard of, Christopher Barnes. He's a wide receiver from Baltimore. We played together at BC, and just like literally one of the funniest dudes I've ever been around. Our class at BC was very, very tight. But CB is, and if any of our guys ever see this, they'll agree that Chris is probably the funniest dude that we ever been around. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so talk about New Jersey sports in general because now we have a lot of talent in every sport, not only football but every sport. But talk about like the big high school, like your high school, Don Bosco, a lot of
Mhm.
talent there, and a lot of like Tommy DeVito came out of Don Bosco. But you have now a lot more talented players in New Jersey. Talk about New Jersey in general when it comes to.
Yeah, well, listen, it's a densely populated area. It's a talent-rich area. It's not reality, right? Let's be honest. How many high schools in the country are you going to find that have five, six, seven Division 1A talented kids? That's rare, and then to be such a small area, it's even more rare. Because if you took, say, Bergen County, the Boscos, the Bergens, the St. Joe's, if you put them in Texas, we'd be one school.
Yeah.
You know, Joe's has 5 kids, 500 kids in the building. Bergen's got 750. Don Bosco's got 1,000, or whatever the case may be. That's a regular high school in Texas. So think about all the talent in all three schools. If you put them together, you'd be national champs every year.
Yep, yep.
So it's great. It's a great league to be in. It's a great league to be a part of. I love having been able to see the talent come and go and find their way to college, great schools, and looking forward to bringing that back here and getting our guys placed in the right places.
We have another fan question here. One of our fans want to know what do you like what do you like about the NI so they want to know your thoughts on the NIL deals now and then the transfer portals now.
Yeah, listen, NIL has totally transformed the entire college spectrum, right? One thing that we saw at Rutgers was, you that's a huge piece to the puzzle, right? And you see it every day now. You see kids going in the portal, they're there for 24 hours, and next thing you know, they've signed an NIL deal for $1.5 million to go to X school. What I think it's going to do is it's going to keep kids in college a little longer, because if you're getting that kind of money, you're no rush, because there's no guarantee you're going to get it at the next level. Now, there's the premier talent, they're going to get their money in college, they're going to get their money in the NFL. So some kids may stay a little longer, but I've also seen that it could kind of drive a wedge between some of the programs, depending on the leadership. That was never a problem we had at Rutgers, right? Coach Shiano did a great job of handling that. But you hear things throughout through the grapevine that kids are disgruntled because certain guys getting money, or maybe he's a young kid that's getting X amount of dollars, and I'm a vet and I've played and I haven't gotten that money. It's no different than when I was coming out with the NFL. The collective bargaining agreement, rookies were making 10 times more money than some of these vets. And then they recollected it, and now it makes more sense for the veterans. But for a long time, I can remember guys coming out, Matt Stafford come out and made $70 million. Never thrown a ball in the NFL. Now he's shown that he's one of the best to do it, and more power to him. And it was, we always say, get your money. It didn't matter. If you could get your money, get your money. But I understood the vet perspective was like, well, we've done it for 4 or 5 years and we're not getting that kind of bread. So, it could cause an issue, but if your leadership is strong, it won't. And the transfer portal, it has transformed college and it's transformed high school, because you'd have to jump through hoops for kids to become eligible, and if they wanted to leave, you're giving them a one-time go. It's kind of knocked everybody down, right? The Power Five gets who they want. If they can't make it in the Power Five, they go down to the Group of Five. Group of Five is waiting for those drop downs. Now your Group of Five kids that can't make it there, they're dropping down to the CAA, and then boom, boom, boom. The mid-level high school kid is really struggling right now, and it's hard for him. So it's definitely not been easy.
And speaking of Stafford, look at him now, Super Bowl champion with the Rams, and still going at it. And actually, he's facing his former team this week, next week, or this week.
Yeah, I
The
know.
playoffs against the Lions. So that's gonna be interesting. But
Yes.
tell whoever doesn't know about you, tell our fans, what do you bring as a head coach?
I think one of the things is we're going to bring a toughness to the program. There's going to be a mental and physical toughness that we had the last time we were here that we're going to have back. I think there is a discipline that's brought to the program that you're going to live within the framework of these rules, and it is what it is. And, but understanding high school athletes, understanding the game, helping them get to college. I think, when I was here the last time, you'd be hard pressed to find a school in New Jersey that did it better than we did it in terms of, Division I talent and Ivy League talent and getting kids the right fit. We're gonna use football to get our players to the best academic school possible. And having spent a year at Columbia, I will tell you that my goal for these kids, all of them, is to have Ivy League grades, because I've seen the doors that the Ivy League can open for you. So, I hope that you have Ohio State talent with Ivy League grades, and you have to make a decision between Princeton and a school like Ohio State. That would be the goal for my players.
Mhm. We'll take one more fan question here. One of our fans wants to know, down the line in the future, if the right opportunity comes up, they want to know if you would you consider being a coach in the NFL?
I had that opportunity a few years ago. I always felt like the NFL was far away from the experience that I want to give to the players. Right? You're when you're in the NFL, that's a job, right? You go to work every day just like everybody else, and I think people don't understand that. You come into the league as a 23, 24, 25-year-old kid, and you're with guys that are 32, 35 that have two kids at home. They're not looking to hang out. They're going to work. They're doing what they do, and then they're going home and spending it with their families. I always felt like the impact that we had on the high school kids was something that I found very fulfilling. So now the NFL is not something that I'm interested in doing, but always nice to be thought of in that manner.
So last thing here for me, I know you're busy, so before we let you go, talk about now what you're early into the school. You already have a lift with your players coming up. You told me earlier. So what's it like bringing everybody early, before the season starts, just to get the chemistry down and
Yeah,
learning your players pretty much.
sure. I think that you said it. I think it's learning my guys. I don't know a lot of the kids. I mean, I know some of the familiar faces, obviously the bigger name guys, but I don't know them all. And what I do know is we had two lifts at 6 a.m. on Thursday and Friday last week, and we had over 50 kids in the weight room both times,
Wow.
and we put them through it, and they didn't quit, which to me is a great sign off of the first 2 days. I always think, excuse me, before I got to college, I always thought that the weight room was a clear cut indicator of how your team's going to be, and then having been in college, it's reaffirmed that that's one of the biggest cultural incubators of the program, is how they're going to be in the weight room. And that to me was always a big part of my life, big part of my day, still is. And our guys have to love that piece in order to be. They have to love the hard work in order to be successful in this program. If they don't love the hard work, they're probably not going to love being here.
Wow. Yeah. So where can our fans find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm not a huge social media guy. My Instagram is Augie Hoffmann 3, the number 3, and my Twitter or my X is at SJR Coach Aug. I'm doing better. I'm trying to get better with the social media piece. I will do that. I know that the high school. Well, I've already heard it that I need to step up my game, which hasn't been a thing for a few years. But I better step it up. So I'm going to get going on that.
Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you to our fans for asking Augie Hoffmann great questions. Also, he is back with St. Joe's as a head coach for a second stint. He is back home where he started his career, basically. So, man, thank you for joining the show, telling about your story, and we're really looking forward to seeing your team. We might be able to cover you guys actually coming up. So we'll cover
We
some of
love
the
it.
games. Yeah, but keep up the great work and welcome back home, and and then we'll stay connected, obviously, and good luck to
Yes,
you and your team, and good luck this season too.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Be well. We'll talk to you soon.